Story 1. I've been blind since birth due to a rare genetic condition. My parents always encouraged me to live as independently as possible. So when I turned 25, I decided to pursue my dream of becoming a history teacher. Part of my research involved visiting museums across the country to gather information for my thesis on ancient civilizations. My guide dog, a golden retriever I've had for 3 years, has been my constant companion through this journey. He's incredibly well-trained and helps me navigate crowded spaces with ease. We've visited dozens of museums together without any major incidents until last month. I was visiting the Metropolitan History Museum on a Tuesday afternoon. The museum offers free admission to visitors with disabilities, which helps a lot since I'm still a graduate student living on a tight budget. My dog was wearing his official harness with all the proper identification tags, and I had my white cane as backup. The security guard at the entrance was friendly and professional. He checked my documentation and welcomed us inside. Everything seemed normal as we made our way to the ancient civilization's wing. I was standing near the Egyptian exhibit, using my phone's accessibility features to read the audio descriptions, when I heard someone approaching with heavy, deliberate footsteps. "Karen, excuse me, but I saw you walk in here." Me, "Oh, hello? Is there something I can help you with?" Karen, "Yeah, there is. I watched you walk in here just fine. You're not really blind, are you?" I was confused by her accusation. This wasn't the first time someone had questioned my disability, but it always caught me off guard. Me, "I'm sorry, but I am blind. This is my guide dog, and I have all the proper documentation if you need to see it." Karen, "Oh please. I've been watching you for 10 minutes. You're walking around just fine, looking at exhibits. You're just pretending to be disabled to get in here for free." Her voice was getting louder, and I could sense other visitors starting to notice the commotion. My dog pressed closer to my leg, sensing my discomfort. Me, "Ma'am, I assure you I'm not pretending. My guide dog helps me navigate, and I use audio descriptions to learn about the exhibits." Karen, "That's ridiculous. I know what blind people look like, and you're not one of them. You're just another freeloader trying to cheat the system." A museum employee approached us, probably drawn by Karen's increasingly loud voice. Employee, "Is everything all right here?" Karen, "No, everything is not all right. This person is faking being blind to get free admission. I demand you remove them from the premises immediately." Employee, "Sir, do you have your documentation with you?" I reached into my bag and pulled out my identification card from the State's Commission for the Blind, along with my guide dog's certification papers. Me, "Here you go. Everything should be in order." The employee reviewed the documents quickly. Employee, "Everything looks perfect. Sir, please continue enjoying your visit." Karen, "This is outrageous. You're all being fooled by this scammer." That's when things escalated beyond anything I could have imagined. I felt my dog suddenly jerk away from my side with a yelp of surprise and discomfort. Me, "What did you do to my dog?" Karen, "I'm trying to prove you're faking. If you were really blind, you wouldn't care if I touched your fake service dog." She had actually slapped my dog's harness, grabbing at the handle I used to navigate. My dog was trained not to react aggressively, but I could tell he was shaken. Employee, "Ma'am, you cannot touch a service animal. That's actually illegal." Karen, "I don't care about your stupid laws. This whole thing is a scam." Within minutes, security arrived. Other visitors had started recording the incident on their phones, and Karen's behavior was becoming increasingly erratic. Security guard, "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with me." Karen, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm exposing a fraud." Security guard, "You've assaulted a service animal and are disturbing other guests. You need to leave the premises immediately." Karen, "This is discrimination. I'm a paying customer." Security guard, "Ma'am, you're being banned from this museum effective immediately. If you return, you'll be arrested for trespassing." As security escorted Karen toward the exit, she continued shouting about conspiracies and fake disabled people. The museum employee stayed with me to make sure my dog was all right and offered to call someone if I needed assistance. Employee: I'm so sorry this happened. We've never had an incident like this before. Me: thank you for handling it so professionally. Is my dog allowed to stay? He seems fine, but I want to make sure. Employee: of course. And just so you know, we're going to file a report about this incident. What she did was completely unacceptable. Other visitors approached me afterward to apologize for Karen's behavior and to check on my dog. Their kindness helped restore my faith in people after such an unpleasant encounter. The museum employee later told me that Karen had been causing problems with other visitors throughout the day, questioning a veteran with a prosthetic leg and harassing an elderly woman using a wheelchair. Apparently, she had appointed herself as some kind of disability fraud investigator. I completed my research that day and got some great material for my thesis. My dog recovered quickly from the incident, though he was extra protective of me for the rest of the visit. The museum staff couldn't have been more supportive, and they even offered to give me a private tour of their archives. A few weeks later, I received a call from the museum director. Apparently, the video of Karen's meltdown had gone viral on social media, and they wanted to invite me back for a special presentation about accessibility and service animals. They also mentioned that Karen had tried to return to the museum twice since being banned, but security had turned her away both times. The whole experience taught me that while there are still ignorant people in the world, there are far more good people willing to stand up for what's right. Story 2. I've been working at this coffee shop for about 3 years now. Started right after high school when I couldn't afford college and needed to help my mom with rent. The pay isn't great, but my manager is decent and most customers are pretty nice. I've seen my share of difficult people, but nothing prepared me for what happened last Tuesday. I was covering the afternoon shift alone because my coworker called in sick. Things were pretty quiet when this woman walked in around 2 p.m. She looked to be in her 40s, wearing expensive clothes and carrying a designer purse. She had this look on her face like she owned the place. She marched up to the counter and started looking at our menu board like she was studying for a test. Karen, I want your largest coffee, the hottest you can make it. Me, sure, what kind would you like? We have dark roast, medium roast, or... Karen, I don't care. Just make it as hot as possible. And I mean hot, like scalding hot. I thought it was weird, but I've learned not to question customer requests too much. I made her a large dark roast and heated it to our standard temperature. When I handed it to her, she immediately complained. Karen, this isn't hot enough. I specifically said I wanted it scalding hot. Me, ma'am, this is the temperature we serve all our coffee at. It's hot enough to... Karen, are you arguing with me? I'm the customer. Make it hotter. I went back and heated another cup to a higher temperature. When I gave it to her, she took the lid off and stuck her finger right into the coffee. Karen, still not hot enough. You people don't know how to make proper coffee. At this point, I was getting annoyed, but I tried to stay professional. I made a third cup, this time heating it until it was almost boiling. I even warned her to be careful because it was extremely hot. She paid for her coffee and went to sit at a table near the window. I went back to cleaning and restocking, but I kept an eye on her because something felt off about the whole situation. About 10 minutes later, I heard her let out this dramatic scream. I looked over and saw her standing up, holding her arm like she was in pain. Karen, oh my God, this coffee burned me. Look what you did to me. I rushed over to help, genuinely concerned that she might be hurt. But when I got closer, I noticed something strange. Her arm looked red, but not in the way you'd expect from a fresh burn. It looked more like she had rubbed it really hard. Me, ma'am, are you okay? Do you need me to call an ambulance? Karen, I need to speak to your manager right now. This is unacceptable. You served me dangerously hot coffee, and now I'm injured. I called my manager, who was at another location, but said he'd be there in 20 minutes. While we waited, she kept making a big scene, talking loudly about how she was going to sue us and how this was just like that famous case where someone got millions from a fast food place. That's when it clicked. She was trying to recreate that old lawsuit where someone got burned by coffee and won a settlement. But something still seemed off about her behavior. I decided to check our security cameras on the computer in the back office. We have cameras that cover the whole seating area, and I figured I should document what happened in case there really was an incident. What I saw on the footage made my jaw drop. After she sat down, she had deliberately poured the coffee onto her own arm. Not accidentally, she literally tilted the cup and poured it on herself while looking around to make sure no one was watching. Then she rubbed her arm to make it look red and irritated before letting out that fake scream. I quickly saved the footage to a flash drive just as my manager arrived. My manager walked in looking stressed, probably expecting to deal with a legitimate injury and potential lawsuit. "Manager, what seems to be the problem here?" "Karen, your employee served me dangerously hot coffee that burned my arm. Look at this injury. I have witnesses." She pointed to a couple at another table who looked confused because they hadn't seen anything happen. "Karen, I'm going to need your corporate contact information because I'm definitely pursuing legal action. This is exactly like that case where the woman got millions for coffee burns." "Manager, I'm very sorry this happened. Let me get you our incident report form and—" Actually, before we do that, I think you both should see something." I pulled out my phone and showed them the security footage I'd transferred. You could clearly see her pouring the coffee on herself, looking around sneakily, and then rubbing her arm before screaming. The look on her face was priceless. She went from acting injured and outraged to looking like a deer in headlights. "Manager, ma'am, this footage shows you deliberately pouring coffee on yourself. What exactly is going on here?" Karen tried to backtrack, claiming the footage was fake or that she had poured it accidentally, but it was obvious what had happened. She realized she was caught and started getting defensive. "Karen, you can't use that footage. I didn't give permission to be recorded." "Manager, ma'am, we have signs posted that this area is under surveillance, and frankly, this looks like attempted fraud." She started gathering her things, clearly wanting to leave before things got worse for her. "Karen, this is harassment. I'm never coming back here." "Manager, that would probably be best. And just so you know, I'm keeping this footage in case you try to file any false claims against us." She stormed out without another word. My manager and I stood there for a moment, trying to process what had just happened. "Manager, in 15 years of managing coffee shops, I've never seen anything like that. Good thinking with the cameras." The couple who she claimed were witnesses came up to us afterward and said they had seen the whole thing on their phone when they started recording her dramatic performance. They offered to send us their footage as backup evidence. We filed a report with our corporate office and the local police, just to have everything documented in case she tried to take this further. Turns out she had tried similar scams at 2 other businesses in town over the past month. The best part? One of the customers who witnessed everything posted about it on social media, and it went viral locally. She became known around town as the fake coffee burn lady. I heard from other business owners that she stopped trying her scam after that. I still work at the coffee shop, and we still get customers asking about that lady who tried to scam you with the hot coffee. It's become a bit of a local legend. And yes, we still have that footage saved, just in case. Story 3. I'm a 3rd grade teacher at Sunshine Elementary, and I've been doing this job for 8 years now. Teaching has always been my passion, and I love seeing kids get excited about learning new things. Every year, we hold a career day where parents and community members come in to talk about their jobs. It's usually one of my favorite events because the kids ask such genuine, curious questions. This year started off great. We had a firefighter, a veterinarian, a chef, and even a video game designer lined up. The kids were buzzing with excitement all week. Then, 3 days before the event, I got an email from one of the parents. The subject line read, Amazing business opportunity for career day. I opened it to find a message from the mother of one of my students. She wanted to present her business to the class. She mentioned something about essential oils and how she was her own boss, making 6 figures from home. I'd heard about these multi-level marketing schemes before, but I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she had a legitimate small business. Career day arrived, and everything was going smoothly. The firefighter had just finished explaining how fire trucks work when this woman walked into my classroom. She was carrying a massive pink tote bag covered in sparkly decals and wearing a t-shirt that said Oil Queen in glittery letters. Me, hi there, are you here for career day? Karen, yes, I'm here to share my incredible business with these future entrepreneurs. She immediately started pulling bottles and pamphlets out of her bag, setting up what looked like a mini store on my desk. The kids watched curiously as she arranged everything with theatrical flair. Me, what exactly is your profession? Karen, I'm a wellness consultant and essential oil distributor. I run my own business selling premium therapeutic-grade oils that can cure everything from headaches to anxiety. I make more money than most people with college degrees. I felt my stomach drop. This was exactly what I was afraid of. Me, I appreciate you wanting to participate, but multi-level marketing isn't really a traditional career that we typically feature on career day. Karen's face turned red, and her voice got louder. Karen, excuse me. Multi-level marketing. This is a real business. I have a team of 30 people under me, and we're changing lives every day. These oils are FDA approved and completely natural. The kids started looking uncomfortable. Some of them were covering their ears because she was getting so loud. Me, I understand you feel passionate about this, but we need to keep our presentations appropriate for 8-year-olds and focus on actual career paths. Karen, this is a career path. These children need to learn about entrepreneurship and natural healing. The school system is failing them by not teaching them about alternative medicine. Before I could stop her, she started walking around the classroom, pulling small bottles out of her bag. Karen, here, sweetie, smell this lavender oil. It'll help you focus better in school. And you, honey, this peppermint oil will cure your headaches forever. She was literally handing essential oil samples to my students. I jumped up from my desk. Me, stop. You cannot give products to the children without parent permission. Please step away from the students. Karen, these are all natural. They're safer than anything Big Pharma pushes. I'm doing these kids a favor. One of my students, a little girl with asthma, started coughing after Karen waved a bottle of eucalyptus oil near her face. Me, that's enough. You need to leave immediately. Karen, you can't kick me out. My daughter is in this class. I have every right to be here. Me, you're disrupting my classroom and potentially endangering my students. I'm calling the office. I pressed the emergency button on my desk phone. Within minutes, our principal and the school security guard arrived. Principal, what's the situation here? Me, this parent is refusing to follow classroom guidelines and has been distributing products to students without permission. Karen turned to the principal with tears in her eyes. Karen, they're discriminating against me because I'm a successful businesswoman. I was just trying to share my knowledge with these children. Principal, ma'am, you need to collect your materials and leave the building immediately. Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm going to report this school to the district. You're suppressing free enterprise. Security guard, ma'am, please gather your things. We don't want to have to escort you out. Karen started shoving bottles back into her bag, muttering about how the school system was corrupt and brainwashing children. As she headed toward the door, she turned back to my class. Karen, kids, remember what I told you about natural healing. Don't let them convince you that chemicals are better than God's medicine. The security guard firmly guided her out of the room. I spent the next 10 minutes calming down my students and opening windows to air out the strong smells she'd left behind. After school, I had to fill out an incident report. I also discovered that the little girl who'd been coughing had to use her inhaler twice after the encounter. Her parents were not happy when they found out what happened. The principal called Karen's husband that evening to discuss the incident. Apparently, she'd been trying to recruit other parents at school events for months, and several families had complained about her aggressive sales tactics at birthday parties and school functions. The next day, I got an email from the district's legal department. 3 parents had filed formal complaints about Karen distributing products to their children without consent. One family was considering legal action because their son had an allergic reaction to one of the oils. Karen's daughter came to school the next week looking embarrassed. During recess, she quietly told me that her mom had been banned from all school events for the rest of the year. The poor kid seemed relieved, which broke my heart. The best part came 2 weeks later when I received a thank you card from the parent of the child with asthma. Inside was a news clipping from our local paper. Karen had been fined by the state for making false medical claims about her products and for operating without a proper business license. Apparently, her 6-figure income claims were also completely fabricated. Career Day the following year was blissfully normal. We had a librarian, a construction worker, and a nurse. No one tried to cure anyone with magical oils, and all the kids went home with their respiratory systems intact. Sometimes the trash really does take itself out. Story 4. I've been working as a cashier at this big electronics store for about 2 years now. It's not glamorous work, but it pays the bills while I'm studying computer science at the local community college. I've seen my fair share of difficult customers, but nothing prepared me for what happened last Tuesday. It was around 3 p.m., right after the lunch rush. The store was moderately busy with a usual mix of people, some browsing, others making quick purchases. I was manning Register 3, one of the busier lanes because it's closest to the entrance. There were about 4 people in my line, all waiting patiently with their items. That's when she walked in. This woman in her 40s, wearing expensive-looking clothes and carrying a designer purse, marched straight to my register with her teenage son trailing behind her. The kid looked like he'd rather be anywhere else in the world. She completely ignored the line of customers and planted herself right at my counter. "Karen, excuse me, I need you to close this register immediately." Me, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm currently helping other customers. If you'd like to make a purchase, you can wait in line like everyone else." "Karen, you don't understand. My son here is buying his first laptop for school, and this is a very important moment for him. He needs to be served first." I looked at her son, who was practically melting into the floor from embarrassment. The poor kid was clutching a mid-range laptop box and looked like he wanted to disappear. Her son, "Mom, please, we can just wait in line like everyone else." "Karen, absolutely not. This is a milestone purchase, and I'm not having it ruined by waiting behind these people." She gestured dismissively at the other customers, who were now staring at the unfolding drama. An older gentleman at the front of the line shook his head in disbelief. "Me, ma'am, I understand this might be special for your family, but I can't ask other customers to leave. They were here first." "Karen, do you know who I am? I spend thousands of dollars in this store every year. I demand to speak to your manager." "Me, I can call my supervisor, but the policy won't change. Everyone waits their turn." That's when she really lost it. "Karen, this is ridiculous. My son is more important than these random people. He's going to college. He deserves better service than this." Her voice kept getting louder and more shrill. Other customers in nearby lines were turning to watch the spectacle. Her son looked absolutely mortified. Her son, "Mom, stop it. You're embarrassing me. Let's just wait like normal people." "Karen, don't you dare tell me to stop. I'm fighting for your rights as a customer." "Me, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice. You're disturbing other customers." "Karen, I will not lower my voice. This is discrimination. You're treating my son like he doesn't matter." At this point, I pressed the button under my register to call security. I'd dealt with plenty of difficult customers before, but this was getting out of hand. The older gentleman at the front of my line, who had been watching this whole exchange, finally spoke up. "Customer, lady, your kid seems like a decent person. Maybe you should listen to him and stop making a scene." Karen, "Mind your own business, old man. This doesn't concern you." Customer, "Actually, it does concern me since I'm trying to buy my groceries and you're holding up the line with your tantrum." That's when security arrived. 2 officers approached our register, and I briefly explained the situation. Security, "Ma'am, we're going to need you to either get in line or leave the store." Karen, "This is outrageous. I'm calling corporate. I'm calling the news. This is discrimination against families." Her son finally had enough. He stepped forward, his face red with embarrassment. Her son, "Mom, stop. Just stop. I'm 17 years old, not 7. I can wait in line like everyone else. This is so embarrassing." Karen, "Don't talk to me like that. I'm your mother, and I'm trying to make sure you get proper service." Her son, "No, you're trying to make everything about you. This was supposed to be my laptop, my moment, and you've turned it into a circus." The security officers exchanged glances. One of them addressed the situation. Security, "Ma'am, your son is right. Either get in line or we'll have to escort you out." Karen looked around at all the faces staring at her customers, employees, security. For a moment, I thought she might actually calm down and apologize. Instead, she doubled down. "Karen, fine, we'll take our business elsewhere. This store just lost a valuable customer." She grabbed her purse and stormed toward the exit, but her son didn't follow. He stood there for a moment, then looked at me apologetically. Her son, "I'm really sorry about my mom. She gets like this sometimes. Can I just wait in line and buy this laptop?" The older gentleman at the front of the line smiled and stepped aside. Customer, "Son, after what you just went through, you can go ahead of me. You've earned it." The other customers in line nodded in agreement. The kid looked like he might cry from relief and gratitude. Her son, "Thank you so much. That's really kind of you." As I rang up his laptop, he kept apologizing for his mother's behavior. I assured him it wasn't his fault and that I hoped he'd enjoy his new computer for school. Just as I was finishing his transaction, his mother came storming back into the store. "Karen, get away from that register right now. We're leaving." Her son, "No, Mom, I'm buying this laptop, and then I'm walking home. I'm not getting in the car with you while you're acting like this." Karen, "You ungrateful little brat. After everything I've done for you." That's when the security officer stepped in again. Security, "Ma'am, you're creating a disturbance. Either leave quietly or we'll call the police." The mention of police seemed to snap her back to reality. She looked around at all the people recording her with their phones, and I could see the panic in her eyes as she realized how this might look online. "Karen, this isn't over. I'm reporting all of you." She stormed out again, this time for good. Her son completed his purchase, thanked everyone profusely, and walked out with his new laptop, looking relieved and free. About 20 minutes later, my manager came over to check on me. Apparently, the woman had called corporate to complain, but when they reviewed the security footage, they backed up my handling of the situation completely. The best part, 2 days later, the son came back to buy some accessories for his laptop. He told me his mom had been grounded from his college shopping trips by his dad, who had seen the whole thing on social media. Someone had indeed recorded it, and it had gone viral locally with the caption, "Karen tries to cut line for her mortified son." The kid seemed much happier and more confident without his mother hovering over him. He even joked that maybe going viral was worth it if it meant he could shop in peace from now on. Sometimes the best comeuppance is just letting entitled people expose themselves for who they really are. Story 5. I've been working as a mail carrier for about 8 years now, and I thought I'd seen everything. But what happened on Maple Street last month still makes my blood boil. Let me give you some background first. I've been delivering mail on the same route for 3 years. It's a nice suburban neighborhood where most people are pretty friendly. The houses are close together, and there's this one stretch where kids always walk to school because it's the shortest path to the elementary school 3 blocks away. Nothing unusual about that. Kids have been using that sidewalk for decades. The house in question belongs to this woman who moved in about 6 months ago. From day one, she complained about everything. She called the post office twice because I walked too loudly on her front steps. She yelled at the garbage collectors for making noise at 7 in the morning. But what she did next was completely insane. One Tuesday morning, I'm doing my usual route when I see orange traffic cones blocking the entire sidewalk in front of her house. There are also these hand-painted signs that say, "Toll zone $2 per person" and "Private walkway pay to pass." I'm standing there confused when I see a group of kids approaching. They're probably around 8 or 9 years old, just trying to get to school. The woman, let's call her Karen, comes marching out of her house with a folding chair and a cash box. "Karen, excuse me, children. This is now a toll zone. You need to pay $2 each to use this sidewalk." The kids look at each other, completely bewildered. One little girl speaks up. "Girl, but this is the sidewalk. We walk here every day to school." "Karen, not anymore. I'm tired of you kids making noise and dropping your trash on my property. If you want to use this sidewalk, you pay the toll." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I walked up to intervene. "Ma'am, this is a public sidewalk. You can't charge people to use it." "Karen, mind your own business, mailman. I pay taxes on this property, so I have every right to control who uses the space in front of my house." That's not how property lines work. The sidewalk belongs to the city." "Karen, I don't care what you think. These kids are going to pay or find another way to school." The poor kids were getting late for school, so they ended up walking around the block, adding 10 minutes to their trip. I was furious, but I had to finish my route. However, I made sure to call the city's code enforcement office as soon as I got back to the post office. The next day, the same thing happened. Karen was out there with her chair and cash box, stopping kids and demanding money. Some parents had started dropping their kids off at school instead of letting them walk, which created a traffic mess. By Thursday, word had spread through the neighborhood. I saw Karen arguing with at least 5 different parents. "Parent, you cannot block a public sidewalk and charge people to use it." "Karen, I absolutely can. This is America, and I have property rights. If you don't like it, sue me." "Parent, we don't need to sue you. We called the city, and they're sending someone out." "Karen, good luck with that. I know my rights better than some city bureaucrat." That afternoon, I was delivering mail when I saw a city code enforcement truck pull up. 2 officers got out and walked over to Karen, who was still sitting in her chair. "Officer, ma'am, we've received multiple complaints about you blocking the public sidewalk and attempting to charge people for its use." "Karen, I'm not blocking anything. I'm running a legitimate business on my own property." "Officer, this sidewalk is city property. You cannot obstruct it or charge people to use it. You need to remove these cones and signs immediately." "Karen, I will not. I pay taxes and I have rights. You can't tell me what to do on my own property." "Officer, ma'am, this is not your property. This is a public right-of-way. If you don't remove these items, we'll have to cite you for obstruction of a public thoroughfare and creating a public nuisance." "Karen, go ahead and cite me. I'll fight this in court and win." The officers started taking photos and writing up citations. Karen was screaming about her rights and threatening to sue everyone. But the real satisfaction came about 20 minutes later when a city maintenance crew showed up. They removed all the cones and signs while Karen stood on her porch yelling. The crew chief handed her a bill for the removal and cleanup, plus the fines for obstruction and public nuisance. "Karen, this is outrageous. I'm calling my lawyer." "Crew chief, that's your right, ma'am. But these fines total $800, and they're due within 30 days. I later found out from my supervisor that Karen did try to fight the citations in court. The judge not only upheld the fines but added an additional penalty for frivolous litigation and ordered her to pay the city's legal costs. The total came to over $2,000. The best part, Karen tried to set up her toll booth one more time the following week. This time, the police showed up within an hour and arrested her for violating the court order. She spent the night in jail and had to post bail. The kids can walk to school in peace now, and Karen hasn't spoken to anyone in the neighborhood since. Sometimes I see her peeking through her curtains when I deliver her mail, but she doesn't come outside anymore. I guess she finally learned that public property isn't hers to monetize, no matter how much she thinks her taxes entitle her to control everyone else.